Broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Here's your host, Andrew Romanella.
Okay? Like, just get the hell out of here. Nobody cares what you think if you're not a Mets fan.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a Tuesday edition of The Rome Show, broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. I got you for the next 15 or 20 minutes. We have a shortened Tuesday show today for the people as we have baseball practice in an hour and 13 minutes. So we got to make sure we're out of the studio, cleaned up. We've given you all of our opinions. You feel good about the start of your day, and we can go get the boys right. So I won't waste a lot of time with the pleasantries today. You know the drill. YouTube.com/the Romanellas. That's youtube.com/the Romanellas. When you get there, please hit that subscribe button. It is huge for the growth of the show. Twitter X and Instagram. That's Twitter X and Instagram. The Rome Show 1, The Rome Show. Then the number one, Facebook.com/the Rome Show, often referred to as the OG social media site. You missed the show, don't have a chance to listen on YouTube Live, don't have a chance to listen on Twitter X Live, don't have a chance to listen to Facebook Live, The Rome Show podcast, wherever you get your podcast. The conversation is super simple today. It is Pro Bowl and it is end of the year awards in the National Football League. There was a post I saw yesterday about the amount of money spent per Major League Baseball organization this offseason. If we have time, we'll get to that. If not, that'll stay for a hump day headline on Wednesday. But we start with the conversation around the Pro Bowl because yesterday, my opinion, became the official end to the Pro Bowl mattering. Now, a few years ago, when they turned the Pro Bowl into a flag football game and a backup quarterback who replaced an injured Lamar Jackson made the Pro Bowl in Tyler Huntley, I think a lot of people at that time really started to look at this thing and say, how much does the Pro Bowl really matter? Well, yesterday, even if there was an inkling of matter left, even if there was an ounce of care left, an iota of maybe people will give a shit about this thing, the NFL completely killed it by adding Shedeur Sanders. Yeah. Shedeur Sanders to the 2025-26 Pro Bowl game. That is a complete joke for multiple reasons. Okay, but in the simplest of form, the idea of the Pro Bowl is to bring the best players from the season in the National Football League to what would be considered an all-star game for them to showcase their skills in front of the fans. Okay, much like the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, the NBA All-Star Game, the NHL All-Star Game, the idea is it's supposed to be a showcase for the fans of the game's best players. Well, for a long time in the National Football League, the Pro Bowl has been dying because it happens after the season is completed. And because tackle football is such an injury-prone sport, and guys can so easily get injured, the last 10 years of the tackle football version of the Pro Bowl had already started to go downhill, which is why the NFL needed to make a decision and say, what are we doing with Pro Bowl weekend? Is this good for the game? Does this help grow the game? Should we continue to put this on? So they revamped a few years ago Pro Bowl weekend to a flag football contest and a series of skill challenges. Honestly, they essentially stole the National Hockey League model and turned it into the Pro Bowl professional football model. And I don't disagree. I actually think that was a really good idea, especially with the world growth of the game of flag football. But that is not why we're here today, people. That is not why we are going straight off the Rome on January 27th, 2026, 6:52 in the morning, state of New Jersey. No, we're going straight off the Rome because you have to have some integrity. National Football League. If you want the fans to care about something, there has to be some integrity behind your decisions. There's not one person sitting at their house right now that says, man, I am going to be more excited to watch the Pro Bowl flag football game because Shedeur Sanders has been picked to the Pro Bowl. Now, I get it. He takes Drake May's spot. He wasn't the first choice. I'm sure it went like Drake May, Trevor Lawrence. I'm sure Josh Allen should be there. Patrick Mahomes, all of these names. Okay. And then you get to Shedeur. And that right there is the point. Okay. If Drake May, the guy who was chosen as one of the 2 quarterbacks on the AFC team, if he cannot play in the game, you don't need to replace him. You're not playing football. You don't need a football depth chart. You're playing flag football. So now we got a guy who was 3-4 last year. 3-4. He threw for 1,400 yards, a 56.6% completion percentage. He had 6 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Shedeur Sanders was not good comparative to the level with which you need to be good to be named to a Pro Bowl. So what the NFL should do moving forward is just end this thing. Because the facts are the facts. The end of the year awards and the all-pro team, that is what people care about. You're making your Hall of Fame mark. You're making your career on being named all NFL, all pro, first team, all pro, whatever the terminology is. Saying somebody's a 9-time Pro Bowler officially yesterday went right out the window. And I have had an argument all-star games for a really long time. Why are we having an all-star game? A game that is meant to showcase the best players in our game. Doesn't matter the sport. Why are we having an all-star game? If we are not going to do the due diligence to have the actual best players play in the all-star game. What is the purpose? And if it's a contest for popularity for the sport, then let's just make it that. Let's turn the Pro Bowl game in the National Football League into a social media contest. That's it. Bring out the most entertaining names in the National Football League. Have them do things that's fan interacting. Have them do stuff for social media content. Have them do something to be a part of that movement and not be a part of this other movement of we're just going to take away the sanctity of our all-star game, but we have to have one. So we're going to keep a skeleton of it, but we're not going to have any levels to this. If the first 2 best players can't come, whatever. We'll take the next guy that can get on the flight to get down here. It's embarrassing. And I think the only league that has truly been able to figure out how to make their all-star weekend an experience that the fans are excited for and aren't going to bitch and complain all the time is the National Hockey League. And the best part is the National Hockey League is always making changes. We went from 3-on-3 to 4 nations. This year it's the Olympics. But I think that's why. Because the NHL from the jump has been honest about what we are. We know we're not as popular as football, basketball, and baseball. We also know that if there's no hitting in our game, If hockey isn't played the exact same way as it's always played, people aren't going to be entertained. So for years, I mean years, the National Hockey League has been on the forefront of making sure that their all-star game does not get stale, is not stagnant, is not boring, is not a waste of time. Because part of the problem when you delegitimize the all-star game, the Pro Bowl, the dunk contest in the NBA is you also delegitimize the honor of being named to it. The slam dunk contest is a great example of this. We haven't had big time stars in the slam dunk contest in what feels like a decade. So now when you hear a guy, Mac McClung, is not going to go try and win his fourth dunk contest, can you believe that? Yeah, I can. Because Mac McClung is a G League professional. So why do I even know this guy's name, let alone why has he even had the chance to win a dunk contest? Well, that's because the integrity of the dunk contest, the care level of the dunk contest has completely crumbled. So therefore, the legitimacy of the contest is no longer like what it was when Michael Jordan was soaring from the foul line to the hoop and creating history, when Blake Griffin was dunking over Kia cars and creating history. That is no longer there. And it is not, as this conversation started, a Pro Bowl problem per se. This has been an all-star game in every pro sport issue for a minute now. And I said it earlier and I'll say it again. The National Hockey League has always been at the forefront of this change, which is why people are almost interested in what the National Hockey League does. But Shedeur Sanders being named to the Pro Bowl is rather embarrassing for the National Football League. And you have just, at least in my opinion, killed the Pro Bowl moving forward. You're listening to The Rome Show here on a Tuesday, January 27th, 2026, 6:59 in the state of New Jersey. A little bit of a shorter show today for the people because we got to get ourselves to baseball practice, which we are amped about. I found this yesterday, and I wanted to show it really quick. We got a few minutes before the commercial break. This is a list of the Major League Baseball teams and the amount of spending that they have had this off season. And I noted this graphic because I want you to take a look at the top 5 teams, top 10 teams, really. And I want you to take a look at the bottom 5 teams. Okay, I'll get that graphic back up for you. In the top, you have the Blue Jays, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Cubs, the Phillies, the Orioles, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Braves. In that top group of teams, you're not surprised that no one has spent less than $113 million this offseason, and as much as the Blue Jays spending $337 million during the offseason. When you think about Major League Baseball and you think about these teams being perennial, consistent contenders, you say to yourselves, oh, those first 8 teams that Andrew just listed off could be considered a World Series contender every single year. Well, yes, because they spend their revenue. We showed a graphic a few weeks ago, if you missed it, the Rome Show podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, that shows the percentage of profit spent by each Major League Baseball owner. And I got to be honest with you, it's embarrassing. And so you look at the bottom of the list and you say, Milwaukee Brewers, you were in the NLCS last year. Screw you. Only spending $1.25 million. The Athletics, the Nationals, the Royals, the Guardians, the Angels, all these teams make money. It's a fallacy to believe that some of the teams on this list can only spend the $7.9 million the Cleveland Guardians are spending. No. That's a personal choice. That's a franchise philosophy. That's a spend as little money as possible as you possibly can so that you can keep as much profit as you want. And don't get me wrong, this is a business. So I understand that you are trying to make as much profit for your business as possible. But as the owner of an MLB franchise, you owe it to your fans to reinvest some of that capital, if not more than 50% of that profit, back into the players, to give your fan base something to cheer about, to give your fan base something that they feel goes along with the hard-earned money they're spending to go to the game. And the only way this can be fixed is with a floor, a salary cap floor. As much as we talk about the salary cap ceiling, with which a owner cannot go over the spend without a ridiculous penalty, unlike the luxury tax, okay? The floor will do the exact same thing on the flip side. You have to spend at least 60% of your profit. You have to spend a minimum of $50 million. Your payroll has to be upwards of $170 million at a minimum. Whatever the line is, having a salary floor will change this. But I think it's embarrassing that you have teams like the Brewers spending $1.5 million in an offseason. And then you have teams like the Blue Jays spending $330. That's not okay. And that seems like a simple thing to say, but it's clearly not okay. And as we've been talking about over the last few months, especially with the Dodgers, it feels like it's starting to ruin all of the great stuff baseball has done to recreate excitement in this game. So by simply fighting through a CBA negotiation this year, you're going to either see the next uptick in the change of the game of baseball in a good way, or you're going to see a lockout, which is the downtick to baseball going backwards and essentially undoing all of the work they have done for the last couple of decades. If I am a fan of the Los Angeles Angels, the St. Louis Cardinals, some of these teams at the bottom, man, I would be A, furious, and B, turning in my fanship card, because I lived in that world with the Mets prior to Steve Cohen taking over, and it was miserable. Miserable. No fan deserves to live in a world where his billion-dollar owner doesn't want to spend money to make the team compete. We spend money here at the Rome Show to make this show great. That's why we have commercial breaks, because they help pay our bills. So we're going to hit that really quickly. When we come back, we got about 5 minutes left on the show, and we talk NFL End of the Year Awards, where we give you our picks for Coach of the Year, MVP, Comeback Player of the Year, Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year. Stay with us. We'll be back in a minute here on The Rome Show, Tuesday, January 27th.
What is one thing every great leader has in common? They challenge their people to not stop at the first right answer. Tighten the Lug Nuts is a leadership book that will teach you how to move past the first right answer with entertaining and detailed examples founded in real-world concepts and experiences. Accelerate towards your professional goals with Tighten the Lug Nuts, one of the best leadership books available.
Yeah. Woo! Welcome back into the Rome Show here on a Tuesday, January 27th, 2026, 7:06, state of New Jersey. Andrew Romanella, 5 minutes left on the show. Maybe. Gotta go, baby. We got baseball practice today. Let's go. After Snowmageddon in the state of New Jersey, we got like 19 inches of snow yesterday. It was absolutely asinine stuff. Got baseball practice canceled 2 days in. That's what we get for trying to play baseball in February. That's for damn sure. But nonetheless, we finished the show with some picks on our end of the year awards in The National Football League. Let's get it going, ladies and gentlemen. We got 5 categories that they're going to give out at the NFL Honors on February 5th, and we are going to pick some of those categories right now, and we are going to start with the Comeback Player of the Year. Your 5 nominees are Stephon Diggs, Aiden Hutchinson, Trevor Lawrence, Christian McCaffrey, and Dak Prescott. I actually think I could choose Christian McCaffrey for 3 of the 5 categories on this NFL Honors list, but I'm going to choose Christian McCaffrey in this category because it's really simple. He was the 8th leading rusher in terms of yards in the National Football League at 1,202. But this man's a freak. He was also 24th in the league in receiving yards. He was 70 yards away from having 1,000 receiving yards and over 1,000 rushing yards. That is ridiculous. 924 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns, 1,202 rushing yards, and 10 touchdowns. He combined for 17 touchdowns and over 2,000 yards. For reference point, Stephon Diggs, okay, who is a wide receiver only on this list, had only 89 more receiving yards than Christian McCaffrey and 3 less receiving touchdowns. Not total touchdowns, receiving touchdowns. My comeback player of the year is Christian McCaffrey. Let's go to the defensive player of the year. This one's going to be pretty easy, despite what your opinion might be. You have Will Anderson Jr., Nick Bonito, Myles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson, and Micah Parsons. This is a tight race when you really actually look at the statistics, but it's going to be really hard to not give this award to Myles Garrett, who broke the single season sack record with 23 in 17 games, passing Michael Strahan for the all-time single season sack record. He also had an astounding 33 tackles for losses. That was 11 more than the next closest person, who was Brian Burns. So my defensive player of the year is Myles Garrett. By the way, for my Giants fans out there, why did Brian Burns get so screwed? He was second in the league in sacks at 16.5. He was second in the league in tackles for losses at 22, behind the aforementioned 33. He also had the second most amount of sack yardage lost, and I think he was tied for the league lead in total tackles with 67. Why Brian Burns is not on this list is asinine, and you can't tell me it's because the Giants suck, because so do the Browns. But here we are, Myles Garrett about to be defensive player of the year. Okay, let's go to offensive player of the year. You got the aforementioned Christian McCaffrey, Drake May, Puka Nacua, Bijan Robinson, and Jackson Smith in Jigba. This could go 19 different ways. Like I said, it really could be Christian McCaffrey here. I can make an argument for Smith and Jigba, top 2 in receiving, Bijan Robinson, top total yards, but Puka Nacua is the offensive player of the year. He played in 1 less game, okay, than the next best wide receiver, and he still only finished with about 50 less receiving yards. He was first in the league in receptions at 129, 10 more than his next best player. 1,715 receiving yards, second in the league, and 10 receiving touchdowns, 6th in the league. But he only played in 16 games. You've seen it. I've seen it. Puka Nacua, offensive player of the year. We got 2 more here. That is the most valuable player and the coach of the year. Let's start with most valuable player. I'll tell you what, it's pretty awesome list when you look at all 5 guys on the list and you say, remove that guy, this team doesn't win. It's just a fact. Okay. And that's what you got with this MVP list. For me, though, I break it down to 2 people. It's Josh Allen and it's Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was ridiculous this year. 4,707 yards, 65% completion percentage, 46 pass TDs, 50 plus if you can include the postseason, only 8 interceptions. If it's not Matthew Stafford, I'd give it to Josh Allen, who threw for 3,700 yards and 25 touchdowns, but also ran for nearly 614 touchdowns. But I truly believe you remove Matthew Stafford from the Rams. Not only are they not in the NFC Championship game, I don't even know how good of a playoff contender they are because their defense was really not that good. My MVP goes to Matthew Stafford. Finally, Coach of the Year. This is a tough one because all 5 of these guys deserve it, but I'm giving it to Mike Vrabel because of the historic turnaround that happened. 4-13 the year before, 14-3, Super Bowl 60 Super Bowl appearance coming up for his team. Only the second coach in the history of the NFL to do some of the things he's doing in terms of a turnaround. My Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel, New England Patriots. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Rome Show here on a Tuesday. I hope everyone enjoyed it. A little bit earlier of a start, a little bit quicker of a show, but hell, I still had a blast. I got to run so I can teach the boys some baseball. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:05-ish. Until then, you have an electric Tuesday. Andrew Romanella. Peace.
Thank you for listening.